my channel. My videos are about life, retirement, travel, and living abroad. And today's video is a little personal, and I find to be quite interesting. And I have the results. Over the last year and a half, I've been able to lower my cholesterol from overall 230 down to the most recent number being 164, and there's more numbers tied up in that. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not selling supplements. I'm not following any particular type of diet other than my own, which I'll explain. And like I said, over the 18-month period, and I get my blood work done every year for sure. And then I've been personally monitoring them, and I've done it for years. And I don't even understand the report because it's never been explained. Most of us don't understand it. And years ago, when Google first came out, I was doing Google searches to try to understand my blood work. And still, again, I don't understand every single figure that's there, but we need to understand that stuff. And then, how is a doctor going to recommend a drug or a vitamin, or they don't, any of those things, if they don't, and they do look at your blood work. So, how come they don't measure it up to those things? So most of the time, even with vitamin deficiencies, we don't realize that we have low potassium or low vitamin D and low testosterone, and we don't get to know what those numbers are. And some of those tests, the testosterone one, I think is pretty expensive. So your doctor is also, budgeting. They don't want to tell you that, you're okay. Your testosterone's at 237. Okay, well, 200 is the low number, and 1,000 is the other, range. And you're at 237, so you're okay. They don't even mention that, you could stand some improvement in your testosterone. Or another example would be vitamin D. Again, I was just getting by. I'll show you the numbers later. And I was at 30 micrograms, milligrams, whatever it is that they measure it by. And 32 or so, and 30 is the minimum. Well, after that, I did some vitamin regimen that I'll talk about, and raised that level from 30 up to 83. Now the range is 30 to 100. Well, vitamin D, I want to be closer to the 100 number because you need vitamin D. So just getting by at 30, my doctor's doing me a disservice and not even talking about it unless I bring it up. And in most recent years, I look at my numbers before I visit, and then we talk about the results. So, like I said, this is kind of dramatic to have such a drop, and to find out exactly what is the cause of it. At my most recent exam, which is back in May, this was the third of the numbers of improvement, and my doctor said at the end, I'm going to go through the numbers later, but my doctor said at the end, and which was very touching for me, he says, I got a lot of patients in your age range. He said, and you're one of few, either if any, that is not on medication. And boy, but for a person like me that's watching the numbers and things like that, I was feeling pretty good with that. And so I'm going to tell you what I did. Again, everybody's metabolism, blood type, things like that are different. and eating habits, etc. So nobody's going to be able to mimic my lifestyle, and you'll be surprised that it's it. It's not a diet, and you'll be a little surprised. Here's exactly what I changed and what I think happened. To give you a little background, again, I just turned 65, May 25th, last month. And I, again, had my exam with my doctor on the 15th, actually. So 10 days before ringing in my 65th birthday, I get that kind of news. And my history. I was a basketball player. I had a knee injury playing for the base team when I was in the Air Force. And eventually that was a meniscus tear and some ligaments. So over the years, I ended up having a meniscus surgery. I ended up having an ACL on that same knee, and then ultimately I had that knee replaced in 2010. I was 49 years old. And then, years go on, and just 3 years ago, 2023, I just had my left hip replaced on that same side of the knee. I've also, since then, or actually over the last 10 years or so, been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, lumbar and cervical. My right knee will probably need to be replaced. In fact, the last time I saw somebody about it and talked about it, that was the last recommendation, maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. So I keep trugging along. And despite all that, I still I still get around. I mean, yes, I'm not happy with the stenosis and the complications that go with that, sciatica, things like that. But I'm a positive person, and I'm going to keep working towards trying to solve that. That's the biggest complaint that I have. But I just put out a push-up video, so I keep in decent shape. I do push-ups, and I can do squats, and I try to walk as much as I can. And again, my pursuits are changing as far as how I work out. I don't even like to call it workout anymore, just exercise. And but these numbers are encouraging. So actually, I could go back a number of years, but I'm not going to bore you with that because I've been pretty consistent. Now, starting in 2024, these numbers are relevant. My cholesterol overall was about 230. And that in itself is not horrible, but then the LDL was 155. And again, I exercise. Anyway, all the stuff. That's what the numbers were. And I didn't like that, and I didn't know exactly what to do to bring that down, except to keep doing what I do. I take vitamins, and I exercise, like I said, and everything else. But anyway, I did try to do some things to affect bringing the number down. So that was in December of 2024. So then the next year, I did the blood work in November, and the overall number went down to, I think, 202 or something like that. I'm not looking at it right now. I have it posted. But my LDL went from 155 to 119, which was in itself significant. And I was happy about that. And the HDL went from 51 to 59. And then that was November of last year. And I ended up seeing my doctor here again in May, just before my birthday, as I mentioned, with even more improvement. The overall cholesterol went from 202. So if we're going from 230 to 202, And the newest numbers came in at 164 total. And the LDL is at 93. I mean, what did I do? So I talked to my doctor about it, and I said to him, I haven't changed a whole bunch. Tell him that I do drink beer somewhat daily, and it's a couple. I do everything in moderation. So, and my blood work and everything has proven that actually. I tried to think of any changes in particular that I made. I told him that I had started a vitamin D3 with the vitamin K2 regimen that I had heard from a YouTube video, Dr. Berg, and taking magnesium. And as a result, as you can see through the blood work, I did raise my vitamin D level from 30 to 80. So that part came in. And then the magnesium benefits that were also recommended had done some work. Now, did that affect losing weight? My doctor didn't necessarily think so. So the only other thing that I attribute it to is living in Colombia and eating less processed foods. And it's interesting because over the period of time we're talking about now, I've been coming back and forth here for 3 years. And in the first couple of years, I was coming here every other month. And then I started spacing out, doing 2 months at a time, and then we got married, and now I don't really count it too much, but it was kind of 3 months at a time. I have to go back and make sure that a few things are still in place. And so I'm spending more time here, and I'm eating more of the food. My diet has changed, obviously, because I'm eating more Colombian food. When I'm at home, and again, I'm single before, and I cook for myself, and I'm eating all the stuff from Vons and Ralph's and all those supermarkets. And I eat well. I don't eat a lot of meals now. I have coffee for breakfast. If I have a piece of bread or a donut or something, I might do that. Or if somebody gives me breakfast, or usually I eat breakfast when I travel more so than if I'm on my own. So that carries me, and you may eat something for lunch. It's not Colombia. Lunch is a big deal for me. It's like hard for me to get used to, and here I'm eating pretty good. So we have almuerzo is the main meal, and so that's actually a little heavy for me, but I've gotten used to eating at that time of day, and breakfast is not that big of a deal here. It's kind of small, and then dinner is kind of optional. So you eat something, but it's not like a sit down like in the United States, where that's usually, if you're used to that. I mean, I've been single forever, but my pattern has always been different. Like I said, I might have lunch, and then I definitely have a meal in the evening. I'll have a couple of beers, and then I usually prepare myself some pretty good meals. I like to cook. So anyway, there's no special diet. Again, I've been taking vitamins since I was 15 years old in some form or fashion. Depending on what's going on with me, I read up about stuff, and I have beliefs in different things working or not. And my blood work and such, maybe those things have worked. I have not, no special diet, no keto, no carnivore, no vegan, no counting calories. In fact, the last time I just stepped on the scale, I'm still losing some weight. I'm actually kind of getting worried. but I'm I'm 172. And I mean, for me, I've been floating around 185, 188, I was happy to be at 185, but then over this period of time, I did want to get down to about 175, which is about where I'm at. And even dropping a few pounds under that here and there. So it seems the more time that I spend here, and again, I think I'm eating more than what I normally do, and yet the numbers are what they are. Now moving forward too, by the way, when you continue to look at those numbers, the cholesterol numbers are one thing, but then the triglycerides have changed. For the positive, these other numbers that I'll flash up here, the blood sugar, glucose, I mean, it's not just the cholesterol. And again, I don't know exactly what it is. I'm hoping I don't, find myself at 160 pretty soon. But nothing in my blood work shows that there's any issues. And I don't know what else to say. I'm my own science. And it could be, I don't know. And it could be one thing or it could be all of them together. If I have any recommendations to anybody, because I've always checked my blood work numbers. Always, as long as I've been going to the doctor. And so I recommend, whatever age you are, that you do that. Because again, how are you going to know where you're deficient, and then what you can actually do to avoid taking pills? Again, my doctor says, I'm not taking anything. I don't have blood pressure. I don't have any. I'm not on any medicines. And he says the majority of the people he treats in my age range are on some kind of med. And I drink beer and sometimes participate in herbal products. Again, the numbers are what they are, so everything in moderation. Don't assume that getting older means you're going to get sicker. And other than my age number, I kind of I don't get it. I feel pretty good, and my numbers show. Thank God. Okay, and then remember, small improvements add up. Just stay consistent with whatever it is that you're doing. Again, whether it's the vitamins, again, I think the processed food thing is really the big deal. But we don't know. I'm not trying to tell anyone to take supplements. I'm simply just sharing my experience. I'm 65 years old, and I'm healthy than many people expect, even myself. Again, I say healthy, and I got those other aches and pains. But if you're over 50 or 60, and don't give up on improving your health. In fact, like I said, I'm still I got some work to do. Because again, we only got life to live as long as we have it. So thanks again for tuning in to my video. Hopefully you get something out of it. And I'm gonna put out more with different things that are going on here in Colombia and wherever else I'm in the world. All right, thank you.